So I know from following you a bit, Leif, is that spiritual practices is not new to you. And how do you personally see this interrelation between improv and more
Yeah,
spiritual practices?
well, that will be easier for me to talk about.
Hmm.
But I wanted to do my due respect for the great session that they did. And I might bring some in later. So yeah, I went through a pretty big deconstruction of my own spiritual path about 20 or so years ago, and it was really through playful, kind of like more of a childlike state of curiosity, what I've come to call wonderosity. Returning to that sense of wonder, and there's more humility, there's more openness, there's more a sense of exploration and not having things figured out. I went through a good dozen years where I thought I had figured out the answers, and it really just led to a lot of self-righteousness and judgment and fear and a lot of bullshit. And which and attachment and meditation practices help me to kind of release the attachment. So with myself, I ended up creating a retreat called Lila, and it's been fun to see how Lila has been coming up here at the conference. Tyagi in his opening talk talked about Lila also, which is the Sanskrit word for divine play, and kind of seeing life as a play, a state of play, and play, or a play like a play for the gods, and that our identity is not as fixed. That it's, he was joking around saying, do you sometimes feel like an imposter? Well, you are an imposter. And it's embracing that reality that all these identities we've constructed for ourselves, or stories that we have about what reality is about, what's good and what's bad, and they're all just really these sort of stories. They're not really fixed.
Yeah.
And so improvisation lets you really enter deeply into that play about, who are you? What is life about? What do you want? And so this retreat that I did called Lila, sometimes it's like an hour or two thing at a festival, up to like a 3-day long retreat. Uses a lot of improv games, group processes, ritual, being in nature. It's not like trying to push a philosophy or spirituality. It's giving people an invitation to return to that childlike state.
And do you see then that there is like a movement of that improvisation and meditation, or more spiritual practices, what you say, walk in nature, they are more blurring now?
There's a blurring, you're saying, between those practices and the improv world?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, to those of us that have been hanging out in improv spaces long enough, you do start to see that improv is about trusting yourself. That's a very spiritual thing. Improv is about openness to this mysterious source. Where in the world does creativity come from? Mm-hmm. Where does innovation come from? And it's connecting to something ultimately very mysterious that I might call consciousness. Or so yeah, they're very much blurring. Sometimes the simplest thing that's coming to my mind right now, because I'm about to do it right here with you, is just stop it. It's like, okay, yes, I know the video recorder is going. I know we have only so much time, but what if I actually just paused, came back, looked at the camera, hi, good to see you, and it's like, when I slow down, and I feel my breath, and I feel my heart, and I look at people's eyes, I think that's improv, and that's spirituality. That's presence. So maybe presence is a really good connector between what we're trying to follow and experience and demonstrate in play and improvisation, and also what we mean when we talk about spiritual practice, presence.
Yes.
Authentic presence.
Authentic presence. And as a facilitator of these retreats, how do you get people to practice authentic presence more into their lives?
Many different things. Some work probably better than others. It could be an eye-gazing practice, seeing what comes up for people. Sometimes it's exploring the blocks that are in the way to being present, maybe a disconnect from their body, opportunities to express emotions that have been blocked. Where most of us live in cultures where
you either deny or you ignore them or you suppress them.
Yeah, if you're a man and you cry, you're a wimp. If you're a woman and you're angry, you're a bitch. If you're afraid, it's like all these feelings get called negative when they're, in my opinion, every emotion is beautiful, and part of being, we don't want to be happy, we want to be human.
Yeah.
And to be human means experiencing all the feelings. When they're experienced and expressed in the service of love is when they're most noble. So anger serving love is to be protective and set boundaries. Fear is aware of what we really care about. Grief is the loss and the experience of disconnect from that which we love. So each feeling has its place. So by creating conversations and activities that help people to go deeper into their emotions, gets them unblocked, connecting to beautiful things, and connecting to nature. Ideally, a retreat happens in nature.
That was so awesome about AEN Conference Montreal, which was in the forest.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I hope we get another one that's in a more natural setting. And and then improv activities that some are familiar with. For example, one of the most powerful ones that I do sometimes is to ask people we're in a small group, and it's sort of a group sculpt, and they sculpt what they feel like their current relationship to the divine is. And of course, it gets tricky, and you have to do some contextualization.
Can I give it a try?
Divine. What's that?
Can I give that a try?
Right now, you?
Yeah.
You could.
If it fits in the screen.
It's helpful to have another person. What you get to do is be the director and create a shape of what your current relationship is with the 2 or 3 people you're with. It's the first scene. So someone might, maybe they're really upset and their scene is just like going like this to whatever this, source or being or force is. Or maybe they feel they're turned away or settled down. And I give them a choice of either being in the scene or looking at it externally. And then the second sculpt is to create what would you like that relationship to look like and feel. And we do sort of a gradual morphing, evolving it, almost like a dance from that original shape to the next shape.
I like that you use your body, like it's an embodied transformation.
Yes, and some people opt for a more abstract, like shapes, and some people set up like an actual scene, what that would look like. And then when we debrief it, it might be about, well, what would some of the steps need to happen for you to go from that one to that one?
Yes. Well, looking at the time, we're almost done. Time flies.
Yes.
But if you would have to give, because you're at a conference where there's so many people with lots of ideas, you want to connect, talk, to learn. So it's hard to really stay focused and present all the time. And also for other people that are not at the conference, we have busy lives and families and work and stress. So what advice you have for us to stay more present?
Beautiful question. Well, I'll give my specific answer in a second, but I will say that, checking out the materials of the presenters, also Ted DeMaison has recently put a book out on playfulness and mindfulness. I can't remember the title right now. I put a deck of 3 cards, 26 practices in the group for people to, it's normally a paid thing, but for people that are AIN members, you can play with those cards, called Lila cards. And, but one step really, I think it would be what I was saying earlier. I think pause. Pause. I like the word pause, particularly for our community. We've been so coached into sort of a frenetic pace of like, go fast and be creative. And there is an amazing thing that happens when you go fast because you can't censor yourself as much. But I think we need to restore some of the pause.
I totally agree. I'm doing actually silent pause retreats, play and pause, and they are actually like the same coin, pause and play.
Yes. Oh, I like that. Yeah, maybe one sort of the in breath and one's the out breath. That was a cool thing that came up in that workshop was the way that I'd expressed it was like you could think of meditation as seeing the stillness of the pool, this infinite source of creativity, and that's where you come to the stillness. And then the improv, the expression, are the bubbles, are the things that come out.
Like the inspired actions.
Yes, exactly.
Nice. Good. Thank you so much. Have fun over there.
My pleasure. Thanks for doing this. It's so sweet of you to give this to the rest of the community who couldn't show up here, and I hope I get to see you sometime soon.